Guys, this is about filming. Can you create a message that you know you are? Well, that's exactly what it's working. Didn't he tell you about Christmas?
No, what's that?
He decided to have the good idea to tell him what to get so that they don't buy the same thing. He bought everything before. So when the kids have been Christmas with them, they already had it.
It's so cute.
Right? Oh, these kids, the good ones.
Yeah. So disappointing.
Yeah. And then the New Year's is ended with that. Like at 17th grade. Such a feeling's coming over me. Okay, we're gonna do an audio test.
1, 2.
I just was. Hold on for a sec, darling. Wait, no, it's just an audio test. It's just an audio test. Say something. This is an audio test of me, Richard Westoby.
And me, Cat Cordina.
Look at you going all like, and me, Cat Cordina.
See you. Have a nice evening. Did you finish your homework?
Yeah.
Well done, superstar. What about you, mister? Have you done your homework?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you can have some of mine if you want as well, that's on the side. It's already jammed up.
I need to be louder. This isn't. Look at you.
Look at you.
Look at you.
Look at you. You can do your dictionary. Bath, lavatory. Do you know this guy, Melvin? What's his name?
Thornton.
No, not Melvin Thornton. I don't know. It's on everything. I'll turn my phone off now.
He's on Instagram.
No.
Guys, can you take the cake downstairs, please?
Why?
Because we're about to film.
Yeah, we're putting on the gym.
Can you do downstairs all of it?
Okay.
Yeah, just take it downstairs.
That's what I think.
Yeah, all of it.
Wait, no, don't take the whole cake down. Yeah.
Yeah. Take it down. We need to record.
Do it.
Okay, and please no shouting.
Pretty please.
With a jam bunny on top. Love you, bye. Okay, now we're going to do a record audio test in the same.
What do you mean?
No. Hello, this is Richard Westoby from IVF Daddies.
And I'm
That was a very, very formulated.
the West Coast. That cat from the West Coast. Normally I've got my trousers a bit rolled up.
Isn't the joke? It's like, and this is going to be. We had a podcast where somebody said, "Must going? Are you high?"
Oh my god! Like when we had those gummies in Amsterdam. Guys, when are we going to Amsterdam? I'm not a professional.
Talk to
Fine.
Richard. No. I know, but we're filming, Lulu. What do you mean?
Just carry on.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Hello and welcome to IVF Daddies. I'm Richard Westoby, and today we have the amazing. So before you think we're on drugs, we're not. We just have the best friendship. Kat has been in my life for many years now and is probably one of my closest friends. And I love her and adore her, as you're about to see. Many, many reasons, but one of the ones is that she's an adventurer beyond adventurers. So you've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yep.
You have sailed across the North Pacific. You have rowed the Atlantic in a boat the size of a peanut. Tiny.
Maybe
tiny.
bigger.
Slightly bigger. Not only did you row across the Atlantic, you got a world record for doing it in the fastest time.
Yep.
You are about to sail the Antarctic. You're about to drive a car across the Atacama Desert, a biofuel car.
Yeah.
Like, how do you hold down a job?
I'm not sure that if you ask people at work, they say I do. Yeah, it's a challenge. But yeah, just a lot of spare time taken up kind of planning some of these things. But it's all good fun.
All good fun. And we love a planner. So we met many, many years ago, and part and parcel of our relationship is you are a godparent to one of my children. That's how close she is.
Who we've just kicked out of the room.
Like, we're filming, leave. And you lived the surrogacy experience with me because we were living in Malta at the time. Literally, you were there, all of the decision making.
Yeah.
So the children came around. I moved back to London, and that kind of led you into a path of thinking about your own future and families. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I think, yeah, I've been thinking for a while about freezing my eggs. I've always wanted a family. You know, I'm one of three, so I've always thought I would have my own family. And I think, as you said, we met in Malta, and I think I was wondering, where do I do it? Naturally, I would say the UK, because I thought I would come back to the UK, but having moved around so much, I just hadn't got round to it. So when I came back to the UK, I decided I needed to get on it. I was probably a bit older than I would have liked to have been when I first froze them, but I looked into doing it, and pretty much as soon as I'd come back, really, I kind of started that process.
And so you were 30?
No, only 2 years ago.
Exactly. And can you remember when you were doing it, what were the thoughts in your head at that time?
I guess, you know, there was still a bit of me that was like, probably don't need this. That was one of my initial thoughts. You know, you always think, I'm going to find somebody and this is just going to work out great, because I am a bit of an eternal optimist. So I think that was one of my sort of overriding factors, I should say. But I also was like, well, I know that I want kids, so I need to do it. And it's just a question of finding the right place to be able to do it. And then, you know, fingers crossed, I don't need to use them.
Exactly. So you did that whole process here in the UK. And I remember very vividly, obviously, helping you and kind of being there and doing stuff. And then the process led to an outcome. Now, the 4th of February in 2025 is World Cancer Day.
Yeah.
And for us, it's a very special day. Because I think there is a theme that is together in uniqueness, or basically everybody's story is unique, but we're all the same and we are going through a process. So you went through this process. I think it's probably better if you explain.
Yeah, so I was having the egg retrieval. I was at the Lister Hospital, and I remember when they come and do the consent, it was my first round of egg freezing, and Dr. Farris had said to me, yeah, once you're done, you know, go to the loo, have a bite to eat, you can go home whenever you want. No biggie, you won't see me again. So I was like, okay, cool. And then when I was in the room and was ready to just kind of get home, I buzzed for the nurse, and she's like, no, you need to speak to Dr. Farris. And I was like, no, he definitely said I didn't. She's like, he's definitely told me he does. And I remember thinking then, like, oh, that's a bit sketch. And anyway, he came up and he just said to me, oh, so I had polycystic ovaries, and he'd asked whether I also had fibroids. And I said, well, no one's mentioned that to me in any of this. And he asked me whether my smear was, like, last one was up to date, when was it? And it was. And so he just said, oh, well, I saw something, maybe it's a fibroid, but I decided to take a biopsy for you, because why not? And with that, I kind of went home. And then it was only 3 or 4 days later, actually, I got a phone call from the lady that, the female gynecologist that I was under. And she said, oh, where are you? And I was living in St. Christopher's Place at the time. And I was at home on my own. And she said, well, I'm just sorry to say, but it's cancer. And I just, I think I didn't really know what to do, because I wasn't expecting it, even though I did think it was odd that he said this to me. But then I sort of brushed it aside. And it was just like in that one moment on a phone call. And I called out Erica, actually. She was free as well. She came over with flowers, chocolates and alcohol, because I just didn't know what to bring. Because I was just in this flat on my own. It was crazy.
Crazy moments. And I think that you've touched upon a few things. So you've got PCOS, or you've had polycystic ovaries. Yeah. So can you explain the symptoms you had for that?
So for me, it was irregular periods, like hairiness, I guess. And I was quite spotty as a child. I think with the pill, that can help with a lot of it, or I found it helped a lot. So that was the main kind of symptoms that I experienced. And then fibroids I actually never had. I think they just thought I might have done, but it was just one of the things I didn't have.
And then you said your smears were up to date.
Yeah. So I actually had adenocarcinoma of the cervix. It wouldn't have been picked up from a normal smear test anyway, which I guess makes me incredibly lucky that they found it while I was doing my egg freezing. And it's not super rare, but it's not like the 80% that people tend to get from doing the smear test. So yeah, I was lucky at the end of the day that they caught it at a relatively early stage.
And so they call you up. You've got cancer. I mean, like,
Yeah.
just crumbles. You've then got flowers, chocolate, and alcohol. Knowing us, I know which one went first. For those of you who can't see, you actually got glasses of champagne. So Erica's there. You've got this information. What goes through your head?
I think so. The biggest thing for me, well, I guess I'm naturally someone that just kind of attacks something. So it's like, well, what do I need to do? That's kind of what I want to know. What do I need to do? And Alison, my doctor, had said, you need to go and see Richard Smith. He's incredible. He'll get you in like ASAP. And I was like, okay, fine. So I need to call him tomorrow. That's what I need to do. She's already emailed him, and I need to make it a priority to go and see him. And I just remember I was actually at work the next day, and I was just sobbing. And I said to my boss, I was like, listen, I had this news yesterday. And he was like, just get yourself home. Don't worry about it. So yeah, for me, it was really like, right, how do I attack this? I think when I started having the conversation with Richard Smith, the reality of what treatment I might have to go through, and therefore the practicalities of that, kind of hit home. So I was mainly distraught, not about the cancer, but by the fact that I wouldn't be able to carry a child. And no matter how many times people said to me that you can adopt, etc., I felt robbed of something that I wouldn't get a chance to. And there are plenty of people out there that also can't and haven't gone through what I've gone through. But it felt just really unfair. And the cancer felt secondary because I thought, well, we found it early. I'm just going to kind of sort this out and then move on. And we did talk about whether there would be the ability to save my womb. There's some really innovative surgery that they can do. Bottom line, it wasn't possible. So I had to have a radical hysterectomy and oophorectomy.
Which means the uterus is taken out.
Yeah.
And the ovaries as well.
Correct. Like scooped out like ice cream, as I referred to it as, the whole thing. Yeah. So yeah, there was no chance of being able to carry a child.
Which is huge. And then, so a question. Obviously, the ovaries and the uterus are two different things. You did another round of egg freeze. Yeah.
So the cancer that I have has a higher percentage chance of coming back into the ovaries, which is why they were like, we definitely want to take them out. But I was really adamant that I wanted to try and get more eggs. So I managed to get around 11 on my first go. And so I said I wanted to do another round at least. We tried to get a quick round in before I went in for surgery, but it just wasn't working. I think we were trying to do too much too soon after the back of the first round. So I asked if I could have the ovaries out at a later stage. So actually we did the hysterectomy, and then I did another 2 rounds of egg freezing before they did my oophorectomy.
So you're 2 scoops.
Yeah, 2 scoops. Literally like a patchwork quilt with all the surgery I've had. But yeah, but actually it was really great for me because, as I say, it was a big thing. Like I wanted to have the best possible chance of being able to have children of my own. And so it felt worth it to give it a go.
And so then question, because I've lived through this with you, but we're asking these questions obviously for the people that are listening. Once you have your hysterectomy, obviously these are 2 different operations. You've had the hysterectomy. How did you feel? How do they do it? Like, how do you then feel after it? What are the side effects? What are the long-term effects?
Yeah. So I had like an open redefine hysterectomy, which is essentially like anybody that has a cesarean. They cut through, the wall of the stomach and take everything out that way. So it's a lengthy recovery. And, as anyone that has had a cesarean would know, cutting through that wall of muscle is hard work. So yeah, recovery was, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks of just trying to take everything gentle, wasn't allowed to pick up anything particularly heavy. You sneeze, that feels a bit awful. And so I went back to my parents, and they looked after me. Dad pushed me around in a wheelchair for a bit as well, which was quite funny. But so yeah, that took its toll. And I think there's lots of things that you don't realise that you have afterwards, and actually, even down to, I get a lot of lymphedema in this area.
That's bad.
So they took lymph nodes out as well on the top of my legs. So obviously the lymph nodes have a purpose, and they help, flush fluid, etc. Around the body. So you get this sort of build up of swelling. So yeah, sometimes I have like manual lymphatic drainage massages if it gets bad. Equally, like being on flights where you're sat down for a long time, that can do it. So, it's always good to wear some Spanx or something like that. The compression, as I've learned on a flight, very attractive. So you sort of get some of those side effects from it too. But, on the whole, you sort of have to build up your strength after that kind of operation. I've been relatively lucky, I guess, with it.
Well, you built it up by rowing across the Atlantic.
Yeah, but I was also very swollen before I did that because I went on a plane and didn't wear any compression pads.
Oh, so Kim Kardashian, if you're watching, we need some of your skin.
That's right. Yeah, definitely. Grande. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh. And then I know that we've spoken about it as well, but it's things like the obviously you now don't have a uterus, so you're not obviously having your monthly period.
Right.
It's your hormones.
Oh yeah, there's a big side effect there that I guess I completely forgot about, which I whinge about a lot. But yes, I went into surgical menopause. So I just remember, they'd said to me it was going to happen. And of course, I know some biology, so I knew that was one of the things when they took out my ovaries. But yeah, the inferno that is inside you and the sweating of your eyeballs. I can't even tell you the sort of sweating that you get. And it was miserable. And that's a really sort of, and has been a long journey for me to get my hormone levels right. So I'm taking estrogen and I'm taking testosterone as well. I don't have to take progesterone because I don't have anything inside me. So it takes a while because your body works out after 3 months, and you're sort of always sort of looking at your symptoms and like trying to understand, do I feel better or not? And I think the challenge for me is that I was clearly very emotional, and I couldn't work out whether me crying at the donkeys on the TV, for the sanctuary that had been walked up those hills, was sadness because of what had happened to me or because of my hormones. So I think it took a bit longer than anticipated to get it under control, but I'm more or less there now.
And then I guess side effects, you went through chemo, radio.
So yeah, second time. My cancer came back despite being told 5% chance. It was graded as 1B when they found it, but came back sort of 6 months after I'd had my hysterectomy and had spread. And therefore, I basically went through chemo. So I did sort of 3 drugs that I was taking: carboplatin, paclitaxel, and then another one, which is like an immunotherapy, avasticum. I can never pronounce it. On 3 weekly cycles. And then I had 6 weeks of daily radiotherapy. And that's a different level of side effect because, I lost all my hair.
You rocked it though.
I did, yeah. I was really miffed about the eyebrows and the eyelashes. I could get over the hair. Like, you know me, I've changed my hair so much, cut it, bleached it, whatever. But I'm also very aware that it's a really big thing for a lot of people. But I was really annoyed about the eyebrows and eyelashes. And then there's the sickness and that just chronic tiredness that comes with it. But I think the radiotherapy was worse for me because it's daily, and it just sort of, before you realize it, it just kind of really builds up, and I don't know, you're so weak from it. And I was on a very specific diet, which was zero fun, no bubbles, no Coke Zero. There are other brands. No cake.
Adventure across the Antarctic. Coca-Cola.
But yeah, like no cake, no nothing. No even avo, no chili flakes, everything because they're trying to stop inflammation and gas in your bowels because they're really trying to pinpoint where they're trying to get to. And so it was zero fun anyway. And it just, yeah, it makes you incredibly tired, cold. So yeah, that was definitely not very fun. And also retching, it makes you vomit. But, at the end of the day, you get through it because you kind of have to. It's the thing you've got to do. And, I think the thing that I found most challenging, but equally was an upside, was this was happening second time around through COVID. And the reason I say there's upside is because I wasn't really miffed that my friends were having fun because no one could do it. No one was going, I wasn't missing holidays. I got tickets for Glasgow for their 50th year, which then got cancelled, so it was moved to the following year. I wouldn't have been able to have gone. So yeah, there is some upside of that time, but it also meant it was challenging in terms of staying safe and well, given COVID was wreaking havoc for a lot of people, immunosuppressed.
Well, exactly. And I remember you came and stayed with us kind of just as they were relaxing the rules because you're like, I know you've not been exposed to anybody.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to get sick. You're in the middle of the countryside. But I remember walking at the time, we had a house in a field, and walking around the field, we got back and you were wiped, you were out. You were just like, I need to lie down. Yeah. It's kind of a shocking side effect, really, for obviously, you saw the physical ones. And do you still have your wig?
I do still have my wig. I've worn it for a fancy dress. I know, it's bonkers. It was such a good wig as well, but it's in a box. And I'm not going to lie, I thought about selling it, but I've never been able to because I just feel like it's tempting fate, which is mad because what will be, but I'm a bit superstitious like that. So it's still in the box.
Let's keep it in the box.
Apart from fancy dress.
Apart from a fancy dress and put a tiara in it. Yeah. And so that obviously that is part and parcel of your story.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you are one of the most inspirational people I know. Because you're very open about it, you talk about it, you have been just educating people along the way, and part and parcel of why I wanted you to be the spokesperson today for the cancer episode is because of exactly what you're doing. That then leads us into where are you now with your eggs and your family building thought process?
So I kind of, in my mind, have had, and I think part and parcel of this is particularly, if it had just been the first diagnosis, I think my headspace would be in a different space. But the second time around, I think with some very loaded remarks from an oncologist, I've sort of, I don't know, like I sit there going, why would I have children? It feels very selfish of me knowing that, because let's be honest, my diagnosis second time round on all the paperwork, they were like, you're incurable. That's what I mean by it felt selfish to like, should I try? And then of course a year passes, 2 years passes in remission. And you think, well, maybe. And then there's a bit of me that says, how long would it have to be before I would kind of consider it? So I did join Surrogacy UK. Obviously, surrogacy in the UK it's very altruistic. You're not paying someone to do it for you. But it's hard. I mean, I struggle dating, right, on apps. And it's essentially the same because people, they want to do this for someone that they like, they care about, they have this friendship with, which I respect entirely. But you're having to do that with somebody, but it's a different end game versus at least if you're, swiping right, left, whatever, and you meet someone, you might think, oh yeah, they're all right. But no, this is somebody who says, I want to carry a child for you. And it's incredibly difficult. And there are many people, I'm sure, that have been on that journey and not found somebody that's willing to do that for them, in so much as there are many people that have been very grateful to those that have done it. I joined Surrogacy UK, and I've I guess, been warming up to the idea of maybe having a child. And I think I do want one, for sure. I really would. I think I'm there or thereabouts. I'm actually, I just had my scans 2 weeks ago and I'm 4 years clear. But then I'm also, I mean, it's hard for me to say this, but I'm also nervous at the challenge of, being a solo parent. Like, that's hard work. And I always used to say, like, oh, it'd be fine. My mum and dad will help out. But my mum and dad are a lot older now. I don't think they'd want to help out. I've already roped them into stuff in my house. So, I think they'll be less inclined. I don't know. It's a long way of saying I would. Obviously, I've spoken to you about maybe going down the US route. I like the certainty of, not the certainty of what the outcome will be, but at least the certainty of a process that you can start.
Yeah.
Whereas in the UK, it hasn't started because you're just in this process of meeting people and maybe seeing if something lands.
It's like you're in a bit of limbo. It's like you've got the comments from a doctor, which again, like, I think bedside manner is such an important part of being a doctor. And you can either be a complete and utter, or you can say things nicely.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes they just get it so wrong.
Yeah.
And I think I remember having a conversation with you at that time, just going, not how I would have approached anything. But I think to what you're saying is you're now in that limbo. It's like you've got I want to do this, but I know there are downsides because what if it comes back? What am I going to do? Yeah. But then if I wait too long, it's going to, like, it just takes too long. And then you sign up and then you're in limbo because it's a matching process that you don't know when you're going to match. It's like all of these unknowns that just drive you to be like, I'm going to drink.
Yeah, indeed. By the way, that's an upside as well about not carrying your own child.
You can drink your way through
pregnancy. Every cloud. This is what I say, every cloud.
The positivity. I love it.
But you're right, it is that limbo. And also, I'm not getting any younger. I mean, none of us are, but equally, there'll be a point where I'm like, speak to my brother and his wife, and she's like, are you sure you want to really ruin your life? And by the way, she loves her kids. She really does. But of course, it's different, right? They take over your life. They suck the life out of you. And they, not always grateful for it. So, there's an element of, there's a tipping point of a decision has to be made one way or the other.
So I think work should be paying for it because you'll be at work. They're not going to be having to sponsor you to do another adventure somewhere else. She's got a child now. Yes, she's in the office.
I'm going to be taking mat leave.
Oh my God, can you imagine? They'll be like, oh, bye again. Yeah, I mean, and you can work remotely.
Yes.
That's also a good thing. Obviously not from the actor comment.
No.
But, and so one final question for you is, when you look back freezing your eggs, are you happy you did it? Are you sad you did it? What do you really like?
I'm really happy I did it because it's optionality. Now, by the way, it's not to say that those eggs are any good. This is your business that you're in, so you know about this. But they are there so that there's an option, at least. And there's a glimmer of hope that maybe I could have a biological child. So I'm glad I did. But more importantly, I think if I hadn't have done, and I wouldn't have found out that I had cancer until, I don't know, whatever symptoms I may have got later, it could have been a lot worse. And that's the truth of it, despite the fact that I don't like to use the word lucky in that regard. But I was lucky that they found it so soon. All right, well, drink to your positivity and cheers to you. Anybody who has been through cancer or has cancer, we drink to you as well because you are amazing. You have this, you are strong. It sucks. Yeah. Thank you for being here today. Thank you.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh my God.
It's so hot. And that's not your hormones.
No, because they're all right now, roughly.
Ish.
Yeah, it is a ball ache though, the hormones.
Well, when was that? Was it 2 years ago?
No, 4.